Hello everyone, today let us do something cool. Yes, we like doing cool things, and I basically wanted to create this video to show you how we can use automation rules to create a project. Now, we talked about REST API, and we have been talking about this specific endpoint called REST API 3 project to create a project. Now, we already have a video on this topic where I showed you how to use this endpoint using post method and using this body where you can specify things like project key, project name, and things like the type of project that you want to create and the project template key and so on. Basically, the things that you need in a project, you can specify that in the body. Now, if you take a look at any automation rule in your Jira instance, on cloud, we're talking about on cloud. So let us say you want to create a project based on some action. So let me open my automation rules and we'll try to find, do we have any action that will let us create a project? And and then we'll learn how to do it using REST API. Now, to create a new rule, you can of course click on the button and you can specify the trigger. Let us say you want this rule to be triggered when the issue is transitioned to in progress, whatever. That is not really important. The main thing that I wanted to show you is that we don't really have any action to create a project. Now you can search for maybe something like create or whatever, but you won't find anything. You can create an issue, but not really a project. But fortunately, there is a way of doing it, and that way is using a REST API. Now, I talked about how to call a REST API in one of my previous videos. You can take a look at my mastering Jira REST API, not Jira REST API, but if you want to watch that video on automation, if you go to my site, ravisagar.in, you can then click on Mastering Jira Cloud Automation, and you can basically find all the previous videos. So I talked about this particular topic of calling a REST API using Jira Cloud. Now we'll do the same thing. We'll take a look at this rule. Now I have already created this rule because I thought I'll just make sure it works properly before showing it to you. It is very simple. All you need to do, you need to give your rule a name and maybe a nice description. And to trigger this rule, I will use not very creative way, which is transitioning the issue to in progress. This is not important. You can trigger this rule maybe using some more complicated ways. I leave that to you. But the main thing that I wanted to show you is the action called send web request. Now, if you look at this action, we are basically using the same REST endpoint that I showed you earlier, which you can, you can go to my Mastering Jira Cloud REST API playlist, and you can find that video to create a project using REST API, and you'll find all the details, which is basically nothing but the endpoint and the body that you need to pass to create a project. So if you go back to this rule, I'm using the right endpoint, which is REST API 3 project. We have to authorized, and of course use your authentication key. Don't try this. This is mine. And the HTTP method, which is the post, and webhook body. So because we have to pass in something, we have to pass in custom data. So make sure you select this custom data option. Now you can copy the same body that I showed in my example, copy it and paste it as it is in the custom data. Of course, you can modify it if you want. For example, in this particular case, I'm using key, which is hard-coded as PROJ XY. You can maybe change it to something like XYZ. And for project name, I'll probably use something like PROJXYZ. And what I wanted to show you is the option to use the smart value. Now, we will go to a specific issue to trigger this rule. And what will happen? the new project that it will create, it will basically pick up the issue key and it will use that issue key in the project name. So just wanted to show you that you always have the option to use project, not project, but smart values, so that you can do something a bit dynamic. So you don't really have to use hard-coded key or project name. I mean, of course, make sure your key is valid. You can't really, have keys with, spaces, I guess. No, you can't do that. So don't try. Don't even think about it. So we'll do this. We'll execute this send web request. And because we also have the option to wait for the response to do further action. For example, if you want the response to be displayed, maybe you want to log it, or maybe you want to add a comment. I like adding comments quite a lot. So because you may want to show to the end user that the person who is executing this transition, that we have been able to create a new project. So maybe it is always a good idea to add a comment with that information. So what I'll do, I'll add a comment. I'm also basically, so when you wait for the response, when you basically check this, you should be able to use some smart values like webhook response.status, webhook response.body, and we can use it in the log action, just to have some history of what happened in the log. And the main thing is, of course, you can add a comment. Now, if you look at the response here, the response that you will get here will have this body where you have the key of the new project that will be created for you. So basically, if you type in webhook response.body.key, you should be able to get the newly created project's key, and I'll use that same key to create this URL so that we can click on that link to go to the newly created project. So it looks good to me, and what I'll do, I'll simply, I don't think I changed anything, but I'll monitor the audit log, and then we'll go to a specific issue to test this new great rule that we have just defined. So this is, of course, one of my issue from where I think trigger this. So what I'll do, I'll click on the workflow, and oh no, not the workflow, but I need to simply click on the button called in progress, because I'm using this simplified workflow. So I can just do this transition by clicking the button. It is already in progress, but I know it is not very creative, so please ignore this non-creative trigger. So let us see if something happens. So we'll probably go back to the, I did something wrong. I didn't enable the rule. So let us enable it, and let us now do it again. Sorry, apologies. So click on the button again. Sometimes you get a message, I don't know why, but it is not always. Sometimes you get a message here that says the issue has been updated by automation rule. So let us go and refresh the log and take a look at the log and see what happened. So we can see something here. We can see that we have a response which is 201. 201 is good. It means it was successful and comment has been added. So we'll take a look at the issue. We'll refresh. And by the way, this issue has key called BT-30. And I'm showing you this key because this key will be displayed somewhere in the project name. It should be, because we are using it in the automation rule, in the body of the project creation endpoint that we are using. So we have this message here, a comment, that project with key PROJ XYZ created, project URL is this. Let us click on the project URL and take a look at this newly created great project. So you can see here that the project name has the issue key, and I believe if you go to the project settings, I think you can see and validate that indeed um, it has the correct type, it has the URL that I wanted this project to have. I'm the project lead because I'm using my name in the, because when you pass in the JSON, like in the body, you have the option to specify the lead account ID. and of course description. So let us see if we have a description. We should have a description. Yep, we do have a description. So it works great, and and that is it really. I think that is all I wanted to show you in this video. The great thing about automation rules is that you can do a lot of wonderful things by using the REST API. I mean, by calling REST API, and we have been looking at these examples for doing these cool, slightly more complicated use cases. So that is all I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you also learned something new today. Thank you very much.